The football season goes incredibly quickly. It's amazing to think we're through 10 weeks. Dave Fleischman, Accelerated Performance Rehabilitation. Tom Leyden with you. Of course, 2 locations, the one we're recording in right now down in Foxborough, and of course, an APR Physical Therapy in Westwood. All right, Dave, I'm watching the game Monday night and talk about Tyreek Hill and a wrist. Right. And the fact that he's playing through a torn ligament. I couldn't even imagine based on my own personal experience, which we might touch on here. But let's talk about a professional athlete fighting through a wrist injury.
It happens on a daily basis. You know, these guys typically play through injuries. If it's not a career-threatening injury, you know, this is where the rehab team comes into play. You know, there's treatment, there's taping methods. You know, the trainers are taping, they're putting braces on him. Anything and everything to get him to be able to play with the minimal amount of discomfort is really what comes out to, including pain medicine. So it's interesting. I'd like to know what the injury is. I think you were mentioning something, he's saying it had something to do with his arrest.
Well, at least aggravated. That was kind of thrown in there last night in the reporting that when, you know, Tyreek was thrown down to the ground, I think week 1 in Miami, that aggravated this wrist injury. But what I am amazed by is that, you know, an NFL quarterback throws a ball so hard. Just imagine when you have an injury, just boom, boom, right. Boom. Every time you catch it, it's being aggravated. I mean, how do you even fight through that? You talked about pain medication, but how do you fight through it?
Wrist strengthening exercises for sure, gripping exercises. You know, I think going back to maybe the how did he injure it? So if he did fall, you know, in that incident, you know, falling on an outstretched hand, that can cause the damage too. Or, you know, every time he falls on the field, he can certainly injure it. So they're not uncommon, actually very common. Mm-hmm. And, you know, these guys, unfortunately, they're being paid to play. Yeah. So, you know, when it's your livelihood, you're going to do just anything it takes to get out there.
Well, let's bring it to the real world, which includes us who are not professional athletes. And I did suffer a wrist injury from a car accident, and I'll bet many of you might experience the same type of thing where, you know, the airbag goes off and your wrists kind of suffer the damage there. And that happened with me right here. And I've been dealing with some pain that way. Is that something that you typically deal with?
Yeah, like with you, I mean, that type of injury is not as common as these injuries, but it does happen. We do deal with them. With you, originally we thought it was a ligament tear, but it ended up being cartilage damage. So less of a good sign for you, unfortunately. Ligament damage can be repaired. Cartilage damage in an area like that on the carpal, there's just not great things other than maybe some biological. I don't know if did he talk to you about any biological shots?
Oh, sure. I've gone through all kinds of stuff. Yeah. For me, unfortunately, the diagnosis is like, not so sure I can guarantee it's going to get fixed no matter what we do, whether that be ortho laser, whether that be a placebo, whether that be surgery. So at that point, it's like, let's wait it out. And he's giving me some cortisone shots.
So cortisone is an anti-inflammatory, but what I was getting towards is there's other types of biological shots, such as PRP, which is platelet-rich plasma. We have stem cell injections. We have laser treatments, like you mentioned. These are all things that are can be helpful. But when you're dealing with, you're talking, you know, in your situation here, you're talking with a very small carpal bone that has now worn away some of the cartilage. And I would think, I would look at PRP for you just to say, is this something that may benefit you? Because that and maybe some laser treatment. Right. More cortisone is going to get rid of the inflammation, but it's going to eventually wear away that cartilage even more. So
temporary fix.
Yeah, and not that I'm against cortisone, because I'm not. Just repetitive use of cortisone is, you know, over 3 a year is a problem. So usually in our age, you know, when we're getting to the point where we're starting to have joint replacements. You know, someone with a knee, I would say, you know, if you can get away with 3 cortisone shots in a year and get by, then that's okay. But once you're not getting by, that's when it's time to have a surgical fix. So.
This is the man who knows. That's Dave Fleischman from APR Physical Therapy. We will be back next week, and we never know what injury we're going to discuss. It's typically, you know, inspired by something we see either on television or experience ourselves. So
or send us some comments. If there's injuries that you want to talk about, we'll gladly talk about them.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
You're now executive producer of the segment. You have just earned a credit.
I did. I just got some cred. Thank you.